Right, so as you can see, we've got an air conditioning unit giving us some problems. And that right there is a symptom of it. Actually having multiple problems with this. We had this unit moved to the new shop, and right up in that section of tape, we are having condensation gather in the ductwork and make its way back down to this tape, and then it drips, and got an old school mop bucket catching that. Well, that has worked for a little while during this move to focus on other things. In the meantime, as you can see, this unit has a drip pan under it, and that drip pan has given it up. It has decided to leak. And so now, you see the door is taking on water. It's an old door we had in the barn and installed. And so here we go again with another temporary problem solver. Emphasis on temporary. So I'm about to see what I can do to patch this problem up. I've realized to tackle all of it, this ductwork has to be lifted. This unit has to be lifted. And it needs to be done in a way so that this water hits the pan and goes out. All right, so let's go up to the top and see what we got. All right, so I've made my way to the top here. And we can get a closer look at the untreated wood. Get in the shower. Constant shower at that, because we happen to have, oh, I don't know, we'll call that probably a ½ inch of water just sitting in this pan. It should be draining into this tube, going on down, and boom, out she goes. And then you have this pipe back here that takes the water out of the pan, and quite unfortunately takes it straight down and outside to a low spot in the ground, which I really don't care for. Long term, that problem needs to be fixed. Probably find some way to pipe that to here. Another problem, another day. For right now, and I will say, this unit I believe is supposed to be standing up. I think it can lay on its side, but we've had problems in the previous shop over this, blowing condensation into the ductwork and then having this sort of issue. So we installed it this way, or had it installed this way again, and now we're working on some of the same issues. Oh joy. Okay, let's get started. I think the first thing to figure out is whether or not this can be lifted. Well, I found out real quick that I can't lift this thing. It's much too heavy to lift and get a shim under this side so that this water goes down towards the drain for the tray. Brute force isn't going to do it, so we've got to find some tools that will help us get this done. We're going to use an ordinary pry bar and try to get in and under this support structure, see if we can lift it up. And then I've got a couple of hardy plank pieces. We shove that in there. I think I'll get enough height to shift that water away from our leaking hole and back to the drain. Now, seem to remember that we have had a problem, as I mentioned earlier, getting water into this drain, and rather it wants to blow into the ductwork and then start seeping out of the tape. What I've done here is lifted it up at this support with the hardy plank. That gives it about 1/8 of an inch just to get the water back. But what we may need to do is go to the other side and give it a little bit of additional tilt so that the unit itself is kind of coerced into bringing that condensation this direction, not only that way, but also to this tube. I really don't want this water in the pan hitting the emergency drain, because where it's piped out to, it causes problems. The water just wants to sit against the building, and you don't ever want moisture staying up against the building. So this is our first step at tackling a problem that it may take many different steps to fix. And so, this is the first step. What we're going to do now is we're going to try to shim this AC unit right under this bracket. Lift this corner up so that we can get all the condensate water to go to the condensate drip line rather than hitting this pan. Now, some of it's going to hit the pan, and that's okay. But primarily, it needs to hit the drip line. I'm going to use these shackles and see if I can't find a way to jack up the corner another 1/4 inch or so, tease that water into the proper drain. Let's see how it works. Quite as high as I want it to be. I definitely want to bring it closer to the edge because this is just sheet metal. At the corner where it bends is where it's going to be the strongest. So I'm going to focus a lot of weight in that one minute spot. We need to use the strongest area of that spot. I think we're going to have to check it out on the other side. Alright, so if you can see this clearly, I got a problem with my drain. So it's not just that the AC system pan has not been sitting tilted towards the drain, it's also that the drain itself doesn't seem to be working. So what are you going to do about it? Well, I really didn't know. Can't hardly reach it with my hand very well, and who knows what's blocking it. So I'm not too excited. So I found this. Yeah. Blow gun. I won't be connecting it to the air yet, but let's see if we can use this to get in that hole and make a difference. I think I've made it into the hole. I may have to hook the air to this guy. Yeah, water does not seem to be moving. That water should be going through it. Time for plan B. We got our air line hooked up in the hole and ready to give it a shot and see what happens. Throwing about 100 psi of air in the hole. Definitely got some sort of blockage in this brand new drainage pipe. Well, are we taking water? Let's see. I don't know. Let's see if it worked or not. All right, quick look at the emergency drain. Looks like we have a little bit of water in the bucket. So no sign of a blockage. Not sure why it's not draining, but it's not the drain. Or it's no longer the drain. All right, so the saga continues on the air conditioning. I paid a lot of money to have this thing moved, and I'm having nothing but trouble. I don't know if you can tell, it's not level. Notice here, of course, we picked up the top. Look how my tape is pulling away. And so this whole section, namely the air handler section, has got to be raised. And even before I lifted that corner right down here by 1/4 inch, this was in a decline state. And I think I'm going to have to fix it by handling these metal straps. So let's get after it and see if we can get this part of the problem fixed. So I start looking for my my metal tape, and I find this beauty right here. We got us some chain. We may give that a try. We've got here, oh yes, calling it metal tape. They're calling it galvanized hanger tape. Pull this piece up. See if we can find some bolts to fit into that. All right, so I think I'm going to start out with the chain, and we're going to run that chain up. We're actually going to bypass this first bar because it is flexing. It's actually moving a little bit. It kind of makes me a little nervous. So I think what we'll do is run up to the main beam and then back down. And I think what we're going to do, this might be tough to see on this ladder, I think we're going to connect our chain to a section, joining the metal tape together, pulling it up, hoisting it up over the main beam, back down to the other side, and see if we can't lift this thing, I don't know, an inch, maybe 1.5 inches, something nice like that would be great. Let's see what we can get going here. All right, so what I've done here is I've got my bolt right here. It's a little long, I admit it. Look, I'm working with parts that I already have, and I've run that through the tape, through the eyelets of the tape, joined the tape together with the chain and the bolt. You notice I've got a lot of slack here now. Had a lot of trouble getting this air unit higher up in the air because that's face level. I'm as high as I can get with my ladders. So I didn't have the leverage to pick this up. I'll show you what I did in a minute. Now, you notice we got this side, which happened to be the only side holding any weight. Hold my camera up here and you can see that this was just looped over, and so we really got to do something more secure. I'm hoping our chain over that stiffer beam will be the answer. See, I've closed the gap at the top, so it's picked up at the right angle at the moment. And I think it might be where we want to set it in place with our chains. All right, so there it is. We're now getting the upward pitch, and you'll notice, yeah, that's a 2x8. Crammed up into the nose, being held together with stuff from the move. Is this janky? Yes. Yes, it is. Will it work? Yes. Yeah, it will. Do the same thing that we did on the left side. Just don't have much leverage to get more out of that. Always have to find a home where it likes to sit and join the two pieces of tape together. So here's we're going to need to shorten our chain and then run our hole right to the spot after removing a link. I've got a couple pairs of pliers with me. Work on this chain. You kind of want to set it right in there, which means I want to take this link out. Shouldn't have to cut it if we can get in there and open it up. Yeah, like that. Making sure we have no slack, any way to pull through there. It would be difficult because the way that the links formed and the way that that angle iron up there is formed similar to this on the main beam, it just doesn't want to slide very easy. Now we have our chain in place. Grab your 7/16 inch wrench. Maybe some of y'all out there have these tools. I have a nice set of TRW standard wrenches. My dad and I used to use these in this set in the late 1980s, doing some amateur restoration on classic cars. And I still got this set and it still works great. Shout out to TRW, who I'm guessing is not in business anymore. Back then, hey, they made a great tool. Even the vinyl case that holds these tools is still in good shape. It's still, I got it mounted to the back of a toolbox. There are no holes in the bottom, the tools aren't falling out. It works just like it was intended to. You gotta love it when something performs like design years after it was bought. All right, notice we have a lot of looseness here. This is now nothing more than a safety in case something were to cut loose in our main chain. We're pretty taut here. It's a good sign when I pull that board away, this thing won't drop, or shouldn't drop very far. I think it's gonna be all right. So hopefully this will fix the pitch and the problem with the air handler section of this air unit. All right, so we're back to working on the footing for the front of this. All right, let's see if we can. Oh yeah, oh yeah. That was a lot easier than I expected. All right, so we've moved this brace. We have a similar pitch all the way down. Kind of gone around and fixed up the tape, the refrigerant tape, pushed it down, make sure it's sealed. Hopefully now we've got our pan draining better. Didn't find a big clog in the pipe. Not quite sure why it won't go through. It doesn't look like the drain is up higher than the water. It looks like it's right there, but maybe all is well. Later on I may take that drain and pipe it into the main sort of building drain instead of just going out on the porch and dripping on the gravel. Well, I think that's going to do it for now. For today, I believe this unit has had a nice bit of attention put on it, and hopefully it will just do what it's supposed to do without dripping on the ground here, building up water here, going nowhere, not draining in this main pipe. Maybe it'll just cool and we'll forget it's here because it does its job so well. Thanks for watching. You know, big part of this move has been difficult because we don't have a house to go to. We sold our house and we are moving closer to the family business, to the lot, about 35 miles away, and we wound up with a bunch of furniture and things that we ran out of time to find a place for. So guess where it ended up? Yeah, you're right. In the new shop, making it very difficult to operate. So I built this loft up here, and part of the difficulty has been no washer and dryer. So we've had to add that into the shop, and lo and behold, I don't know, we could end up in trouble over this, but this laundry was here drying, and I walked up and I thought, oh my goodness, oh my soul, we may be guilty of laundering money here. I'm not sure how that happened. Somebody has washed a $10 bill and hung it out to dry. I don't know. Maybe that's okay because the bill's not hurt. It looks good. Probably a lot cleaner than it was before. So hopefully we're safe. Hopefully we're safe. And then I'll get back to work on trying to find some things to put up there and get off the floor so we can open this shop up for business.